Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So with this video, I know that I have not uploaded a really good video, really diving into everything for a long time, even though I've posted tons and tons of stuff on TikTok, a little bit on Twitter, Instagram, all that jazz. And I really do want to come back to YouTube. I feel like this is where I really do belong. And it's really difficult since a lot of you guys have been following my story for a long time, or you come back to check in, or maybe you're new here today. It's hard for you guys to piece together all points of my story up until now, especially with what's happening now with the adoption being illegal and where I'm going forward. So with that being said, I'm going to attempt to make this video. And this video is going to be kind of starting from the beginning, and going to where I am at now. Now, I know a lot of you guys have been here for a long time, so you've heard a lot of the same story over and over and over again. I also know that a lot of you guys have been here and heard the same story over and over again with different changes, because, well, I'll get into that, hopefully. But this time, I'm going to just kind of get an info about each part so you can kind of understand where I'm at. And as you know, over time, as I look back on my past and I reconnect those memories as I grow older, I do feel differently about how my story was back then and how I see it now. So even as I'm retelling some of the stories you may already know, your perspective may be able to grow a little bit in that aspect. I am really awkward because I haven't really filmed a video like this for a long time. I will try to keep from looking at myself on my phone and look at the camera, but honestly, in order for me to say what I need to say in the best way I can while being on camera, which already makes me mess up and nervous, I need to just vibe, whether it's looking at myself, whether it's doing weird mannerisms, I don't know. Second thing is I'm going to try and not edit this video at all. I might do a little bit of edits because it makes me feel better, as I can change the quality and I can cut out weird things I do, like popping my back and pauses. But because I would rather use my time that I have not spending hours editing a video just so I can feel better and it looks pristine, I'd rather just let it be. So heads up on that. And the last part before I get into this is going to be a lot. Feel free to skip around if you know a story really well or you've really been on my updates and you know everything. But you do not need to sit here and watch this video because there's going to be a lot. And really, unless you just want to stare at my face, just put this video to the side and listen to it. You can come back to it later since it's really long and complicated. Put it on the side while you're working, going to work, whatever, as if you were pausing on a podcast or something, except it's on YouTube. I really hope that this can be the beginning of my return to YouTube, and I hope that it works this time and that this works. I'm going to try and do this all in one video, so it's going to be really long. However, there's a lot for the whole revamp, so I may split it up in parts, but I don't know. I'm just trying to get this up because I know I always say I'm going to give you an update, I'm going to explain, I'm going to do this. The thing is when I am public with my energy, sometimes I post just goofy, silly stuff or flamboyant stuff, or just sometimes I troll and I meme. But when it comes to my actual story and when I'm really serious about it and when I want to take it serious, I want to try and use the best energy I have, which doesn't come often with my life being the way it is and being a mother. So I know that it's just better to try and attempt this, see where we get to by the end of this, and just know that I tried. So here we go. I wrote some notes. I want to make a disclaimer that when I'm filming videos like this, I often get pretty nervous. And because of that, and because of my dyslexia and thinking faster than when I speak, I often mess up a lot of my words. Sometimes I say a word that is absolutely not the word I was trying to say, but in my head I said it. Like, for example, and I'll make this quick, one time I was trying to tell my boyfriend to throw away the McDonald's bag, and instead, for whatever reason, I said microwave, and I didn't realize it until he asked me. So I probably won't realize it, and quite honestly, I probably won't put edits over it because that's gonna take a long time. Second, sometimes because my life has been so eventful, my timing, so if I say a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, may be a little off. So if you try to like pinpoint every single thing in my story and it's a little off, it's not because I'm lying or I'm trying to do anything. It's because I'm trying to tell the story and processing all of it while I'm talking to a camera live for who knows how many will see with my biggest insecurities, and this craziness is a lot. So yeah. Got my notes. Okay, so let's get started with the obvious. When I was 15, I got pregnant. It was a really big deal, and you can watch the story on my very first YouTube video. There was rumors at my school, there was huge gossip and everything, so for whatever reason, during a full moon, I decided to turn on my webcam, sit down, and answer the rumors and to all the messages, all the flooding I was getting in a video. And I posted it to my Facebook, never meaning to put it on YouTube. I didn't really watch YouTube, minus like Neon Cat or whatever, you know, was back then, which wasn't a lot. I posted it to Facebook originally, and it went viral on Facebook by itself. It no longer exists because that Facebook account was deleted. Well, it started lagging really bad on Facebook, and so I like hopped on YouTube real quick, and I created a channel real quick. Awesome Sauce 4916 is the original name of this channel, and I uploaded it there. And for some reason, while filling out the tags, I don't know why I did this, because I was not trying to go viral. I did not understand YouTube. I was just literally doing. I didn't have any attempts of doing anything. I was just acting as a free spirit, whatever. I just started typing in random stuff because I was like, okay, I don't know what to put here. So I put the Jonas Brothers, I put Shawn Mendes, I don't think I put Shawn Mendes, but I do know Shawn Mendes is subscribed to me. Hey. Anyways, or I put like, just any tags, and this was back when the algorithm wasn't really created, so I put everything, and I put like, there was no limit to how many tags you could put, so I just went on and on and on, because I was like, I don't know what this is, like, I'm just putting it in, like, these are the things I like, basically. I would just type in the things I like, and then all of a sudden, after I typed in a bunch of things that I liked, the Jonas Brothers, Hannah Montana, all this stuff, there would be suggestions of what I can put, and so it would come up with crazy YouTube suggestions, and I was like, I don't know, and I just would click all of them. And obviously the YouTube algorithm has changed to where you can't just input any topic and as much topics as you want that isn't relevant to your video, but they didn't do that then. They didn't check that then. And so when people would comment in my comment section, like, I don't know how I got here, it's because I literally invented the algorithm for the future of YouTube moms, which, you know, it is what it is. And then I went super viral. I never planned to be a YouTuber. I had no idea what I was doing. All I know is that when I filmed videos at that time, I was just being me. Maybe I talked a little deeper, trying to seem cooler or whatever. But ultimately, I was just being me with no attempts of anything. So I get pregnant. It's very traumatic. It's very hard. I am not okay. And this is like, going into this really now is a total different video. Those were, and I don't want to say the worst years of my life, because I never want my birth child, Nova, to get older and feel like a burden, because that's never it. He's been truly the biggest reason why I'm here in this life. And you know, it went on, and it was, it got to a point where I wasn't human anymore. I didn't feel human. From being a girl going super viral, being a teen mom, my school, everything, redneck town, everything, it was extremely dramatic, and I was terrified, and there was so much going on at home, fighting, screaming, just everything, and I was super naive. I'm still naive in a lot of ways, but I yes, I eventually during my pregnancy went into autopilot, and there's a lot of videos that are deleted from my YouTube, unfortunately, and I'll get into that later, back when I came back from lockup. But I go back and I was able to find those videos from Time Machine, and these are like videos late in my pregnancy or right after, and I can just tell the autopilot. And quite frankly, there was different types of autopilot, but I had been on autopilot from probably my third trimester, is obviously when I was like autopilot full send, all the way up to, I would say, what year was it? I need to look. Up until, I think it was 2017 is when I first truly came out of autopilot. It didn't feel like, I don't know how to explain it in this short detail. Anyways, there was an adoption that happened 3 weeks, I think even less, and I was on autopilot for that as well. In fact, that was the scariest and still the most saddest thing that has ever happened in my life. And going into that, again, into extreme details, is a different video. Now, I'm not going to get into the specifics about that because that'll come later. So, what was really traumatic about that is right after the signing that was illegal of Nova, which is not his real name, but I'm thankful that I still gave him that name because it gives me a chance to talk to him and about him, not about him and his life, but him in the course of my story, while respecting his privacy. Well, I got my first YouTube paycheck after the signing, because I didn't know you could make money from YouTube and stuff until way later when a friend told me, and it took time to get approved. I got, I think, $6,000, and I realized that I could be completely fine, probably, if I were to have my child, because I would have had enough money to get out. I would have had enough money to support us. I would have had everything. And it was by one day. I didn't know how much would come in. I didn't know anything about YouTube. So imagine one of the biggest reasons you're going into that is because you're this poor 15-year-old girl, and then finding out you're generating more income than most people in America by a month. So there was that. After the adoption, there was a lot of traumatic stuff that went into that I don't need to go head into. But when I went home, basically, and when I went through everything, is I did, you know, I have felt suicidal before in my life. But there has been that moment, this was this moment during this time, those few months, where there wasn't even, where I want you to imagine a point beyond being, you know, thinking about, which makes you think, well, if there's a point beyond feeling like yourself, wouldn't that be yourself, you know? And there's this other thing where you don't even have the brain capacity to, you don't have the brain capacity to even process anything. You are full robot. You are completely empty. A lot of times when I felt in my life, I would be processing all my emotions, right? In that moment, I wasn't processing anything. I could feel everything inside my gut, every single thing in my gut, but nothing really made sense to me. The whole thing, none of it made sense to me, whatever. And so also the denial, the scaredness, the whatever I was after that point, there were no words to put what I felt in my gut to my brain. There was no processing it. I could have acted to people like I was processing it. I didn't even know what I was probably saying when I was talking to them. Like when I would go to school and I talked to people, when I talked to other, I was not there. I was not there. I was not there. The thing about what I went through is so primal, it is virtually impossible to describe. All I know is that everything, you know, whatever. And so I would, every now and then, on the weekends or whatever, I would go to my room in the basement, and I had like an old thing of like alcohol from like a long time ago. And I think I had like a really old joint, and I would, it'd be like 9 o'clock, everyone's asleep, and I just drink. I get really, whatever, I take like one hit, because even though I acted like I was this whatever when I was 14, you know, it took, a whole joint would have lasted me like a year. And I wouldn't bother anybody. I wouldn't post or anything. I would just get intoxicated, be silent, and fall asleep sometimes. And one night I just needed to leave my house. It was late at night, and I just needed something that wasn't related to any of this. So I left my house, went on a walk, met up with this friend of mine, and walked home. And obviously I shouldn't have been doing that. I shouldn't have been doing any of that. And I'm not writing excuses. I knew better than to drink to whatever, but I also, like, as much as I will take accountability for all my actions, I'm also not going to put the blame on that girl. And she's a different version than who I am now. I'm not doing that to her. She has been through enough. There is no blame there. And one of my parents specifically, and she had her own story of her own. There was a lot that went on, and I'm at a point with my mother where I'm not going to discuss her and discuss the things we went through, because it's just, we're improving and growing, and we're learning together and unwinding the past together, and growth in any way is possible. And quite frankly, you know, it's irrelevant. You don't need to know every single detail and how traumatic it is to be able to be like, wow, I understand Sierra, I understand this girl. But, you know, my parent, who didn't grow up around that stuff, didn't really understand, whatever, took it to the extremes. And obviously I did need help. I wasn't okay. I should not, like, getting whatever in your room at night, whether you're not bothering anybody or whatever, is not okay, right? I need help. But the help I got was not what I wanted. Even though they probably still to this day think that it helped me, it did not. And I was sent away to the middle of the woods, and this is, again, a separate video for another time that I swear one day I'll make, called Delmina Woods. It is now shut down. And I was there for 6 months. I had saw my son Nova maybe twice since then, and for like not even an hour probably. And then I went there where I would not see the child I just had in the separation and everything. And I would not see my family, but maybe like once a month if I was lucky. I would not get to talk to friends. I would not get to talk to anybody. I would get one forced phone call to usually my mom a week. And it was only 10 minutes. No letters to anybody, no friends. Everyone thought I was dead. I disappeared. It was the worst thing of my entire life. This journal I'm actually writing notes in, I wrote while I was there. Separate time for another thing. They were extremely abusive. And I never told anybody this, but there were pedos there as well. And I would write something for Nova while I was there, and they would rip it up. And there was girls there for literally things like heroin and meth and stuff like that, and like prostitution. I was there for like, okay, I was a girl in crisis. I wasn't doing those things. I wasn't drinking or smoking or whatever because I was addicted. I was in a serious, really rare crisis that me nor nobody else knew how to handle. And because they hated me so much because I was good while I was there, they would keep me there the longest. If I was good, they said I could get out in 4 months. They kept me there till 6 months. While there were girls who literally ended up getting sent back and back after, who were there for like actual like scary stuff, they would let them go home at 4 months. And they would look at me and they'd throw it in their face. They hated me. And the reason they hated me was because when I came in, I was somebody. There was people out there. I was something. I don't know why. I don't know why, especially back then. Maybe it was the lack of having creators. Why being someone, having an audience, being like that, triggered so many people just to dislike me. Based off someone you don't even really know. It was terrible. I have a Instagram reel and a TikTok that kind of goes into the specifics about it if you want to visit those. Thankfully it is closed down now and abandoned because they investigated more on it and realized that this is like some horrible like really like messed up stuff that doesn't need to exist and is traumatizing the children more. When I got out of that, after not being in the real world for 6 months, never being alone for 6 months, being abused, being preyed on, being hunted, whatever, this is where, well, while I was there, I was never allowed to talk about my real feelings and how I felt. You had to say what they wanted, which is weird because if you think you're getting help, you can discuss things. We never even discussed the adoption or anything. Like anything I actually needed help with, they didn't discuss. They basically just, whenever like you're a terrible human being for like doing illegal things that you shouldn't have been doing. They never actually discussed the problem. So because you were watched every second and because you have to be on good behavior or you'll be punished for, I mean, you are punished over and over, but you'll be punished even more and humiliated, or even worse. I had to because I had no choice because I needed to get out of there and take care of things like my son, my friends. Like I had things to do. But because of that, I had to force my brain shut. And I remember we'd be in circles outside. They would have these circles anytime like they wanted to be mean to the girls. It would be like -degree weather. I'd be in yoga pants because I showed up there with no real winter clothes, freezing to death. Yoga pants, like yoga pants thin. Tennis shoes in -degree snowy weather. We'd be circled outside for at least an hour or more in the cold. And where the staff would switch out, but we would be freezing. And what was it exactly? I totally forgot where I was going. Dang. Okay, well, I guess I'll keep going. Oh yeah, so they would force you to say stuff about yourself that wasn't true. And if you didn't listen, they would flick you or hurt you or prey on you or punish you or humiliate you or so forth. And we're already in the weather. And so I would have to, and they would, okay, it kicked me off, which by the way, my phone will I'll probably get kicked off a few times. So if you see me like restart, whatever. Okay, I'll try to make that fast. Basically, I had so much anger, so much whatever from pretending and never once being alone in my own thoughts. I was not alone at any point during that whole 6 months. 6 months felt like 3 to 6 years. I'm not even joking. It was so bad that in order for me to have any type of release, and I know this is gonna sound crazy, but it is what it is, I would have to imagine the person like doing what they were doing to me, the grown adult. I would have to imagine in my head arrows coming out of my brain and shooting into them over and over and over again, just to release any type of suppression, whatever. By the time I got out of that, being used to that state, on top of what wasn't cleared and wasn't addressed, on top of that, and coming home to a whole new world, a whole new life, confusion, whatever, I had become blank and empty, void to autopilot now 200 times, terrified, extreme paranoia, the most complicated PTSD there probably is, and when I say I don't even know what it was like to live out my eyes, I don't. Nothing was real. Nothing I did was ever real, to be honest. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And so that brings me to how I felt about Nova during that whole phase. Not good. I knew that this was wrong. What was going on was wrong. In more ways than just everything I have went through and with it, but with everything else, with family, that, with me, and with the adoption, what was going around me, and with the family. I'm going to explain what I remember the first time I came over to visit my son. This was a family I only got to know for a minute or whatever. Like, literally, I hardly knew them. In fact, I found out just a few months ago that before I even met the family, one of my parents went over there and showed them pictures of my ultrasound and stuff, basically being like, oh, you know, take this baby, whatever. When I thought of adoption, I thought I was really helping two people who could have a baby. When you talked about that in society, people make that a huge deal, especially then. And anytime I went to like the clinic in my hometown, or I did anything, they would be like, adoption, you'll give in a family, you'd be amazing, God will bless you. Like, they always told me, like, you're giving me a gift by God, you're doing the right thing. Like, they would be like, you're doing the right thing, God, 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 God. And I was like, okay. Like, of course I'm on autopilot, I'm traumatized, and I'm like, okay, you're saying this is what needs to happen in God, so, okay, do this for me. You know what I mean? I wasn't even like, I want to do this, really. I was like, okay, I'm doing the right thing here. I'm doing the right thing. Helping two people who can't have a baby and all this stuff, like, that, like, God wanted me to do this, whatever. I'm like, okay. You know, I needed answers. All the other answers had things pushing against it, you know, fighting, screaming, whatever. But when I seeked out this answer, there was no fighting or screaming or anything when I went about this. There was, God needs you to do this. You need to do this. This is beautiful. This is what we need, you know, whatever. On top of getting bullied and being who I was, both publicly by 15 million people and everywhere else, I was like, okay. When they described it the way it is, and, you know, when I would go there, they say adoption is beautiful. Two families coming together. We're two families. And they would say, you know, one thing they would say is, you know what's better than one family loving you? Two. And just like when I was a little girl, you know, when they tell you, your parents are telling you, you get a divorce, it's like, you know what's better than one Christmas? Two. You know, so I'm like, oh yeah, okay. And they're like, we blah, 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 blah. There was no anything, whatever. There is no going over anything, whatever. And we'll go into the illegal adoption contracts eventually, and the realness of it. In my head, the way that adoption made it seem, I pictured in my head someone next to me while I'm holding my baby, maybe holding them with me, holding the baby with me, crying with me, bonding with me. If I, like, and to this day, if my idea of a real adoption is that person with me, beside me, holding my child together, crying together, bonding together, staying up late, talking with each other, really getting to know each other, like really diving into the deeps and wells of each other, you know, hugging each other, loving each other, crying, real emotion, real empathy, you know, I imagine it as a best friend, or it's the second mother of my child, you know, like there is this closeness, you know, they say like, we're so close, infinity and all this stuff. That's how, like, I thought, but it's cold. That's how they make it seem, but it is cold. None of that happens. There's no, I'm holding my child with you. There's no sleepovers, you know, where both of us are, you know, I imagined it where it's like, even I could be over there and, you know, I'd sleep over and we wake up and like, obviously like it's not a co-parent situation, but like, you know, together. It's cold. Especially after the signing is over. It's cold. It's not, I'm going to hold my baby with you, or I'm going to help you, or I'm going to be like, you know, be with your baby. Because obviously if you separate a child at birth, there's long-term trauma for that child. Even if an adoptee says they do not have trauma, if they were separated at birth, even if they're fine now, it's there and it exists. They are not the same person. It would be a total parallel universe if they had more time with their mom. Now, a lot of mothers, birth mothers, choose not to hold their child right after birth. And the reason for this is because when you're talking to like, whether it's an agency or like, for me, I didn't go through an agency, but I was going to the center that told me how adoption went and everything. You know, they were like, you can have the baby go to them, all this stuff. And you'd be like, okay. A lot of birth mothers don't do that, not because they don't want to, but because it is literally, it is against human nature. It is literally against human nature of animals. We are primate animals. For a mother, when you have a child and when you're pregnant with them, your whole brain changes. Your whole chemistry, your whole body. It is unprimal for a mother to release her child. Right? Like it is unprimal. The mother could be, and I know before you say, well, there's birth mothers who don't want their children. There's birth mothers who do a bunch of, you know, illegal stuff and are terrible. We're not talking about people who are dangerous and putting other people at harm who shouldn't have been kids. People can still mess up. I think parents can mess up all the time. People in crisis has messed up. That's not what we're talking about. And I'm going to be honest with you. If a birth parent really didn't want her child, she would have aborted it. When you're going through a crisis like that, you will lie to yourself so hard you'll believe your own lies. A lot of birth moms, even those watching this, will be in denial to this day. Even as I came to realize the truth about the adoption, I would still be in denial about things. Every month I come more into honesty about what I was really feeling, and it's hard. It's taken a lot of time and support, a lot of unraveling. But for the most part, we'll lie because we need to function. We need to know that everything we did was because it happened, and we will do that. And it changes. Anyways, so basically, where was I? It was cold. There's no parents coming up to you and saying, do you want to hold us together? Like, let's cry together. Let's bond. Like, let's really bond. Bond. Like, truly bond. Let's get family therapy together. Like, let's go to class. Like, no. You know, I understand, like, mothers may make choices like, you know, they'll say, I didn't hold my son after because they have to make that choice. And they know that if they do, they'll be like, they won't be able to go through with it. But there should be someone there to say, hey, you know what? Hold your son. We can still get through if you really want to go through an adoption. That birth mother is so scared. So instead of being like, okay, thank you. We're so excited to be the first people to hold your child. Say, no. If this is really what you want to do, we can go through it together. You're never going to get this opportunity back. Hold your son. And it's okay if you change your mind. No one says that. No one says that with adoption. And I'm 15. I'm a child. Instead, they're happy. They're not there. They're not telling you, oh, please, you know, be with your child as long as possible because it's also protect. They're excited. No one's there. They immediately rip that child from your hands and they will be there in another room. They'll hold your baby while your baby's screaming from separation from its mother, screaming until it silences itself, or it's already silent because, not because it's a newborn baby, because it's literally experienced extreme trauma from separation from the mother. And while that baby's in crisis and that mother is in crisis, they're laughing. and they're taking pictures. Some of them will even look over at the mother and look back at their child, or not their child, and it's not even their child yet. The mother's just there. I was on so much medicine when I gave birth to Nova. In fact, they gave me an IV and they said if you're in pain, you can press more medicine. I know this isn't okay, but I'm going to be honest. I was fully numbed out and I would continue pressing the button because I did not want to be there. So after it happened, I was like, ugh, I put myself in a state and I was like, oh, I'm okay. Like, I'm good. You know, because there's people coming in and out of my room. Like, I'm okay. I'm good. No, I'm not. Obviously, I'm not. And I'd be like, ah, ha, 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 like a little girl. Obviously, I'm not. Obviously, I'm not. And, you know, all the family moves into the other room and they're left on the hospital bed. And there's a celebration. We have a baby. Oh, even though it's not officially theirs, whatever. Well, these two mother and babies are separated. I'm sorry. That is not beautiful. That is not God. That is not God. I don't care how much society has manipulated and told you. I don't care if you believe in God or if you don't. I don't care if you believe in the universe. That is not human. That is not primal, and that is not natural, and that is not right. Okay, phone died again. Hopefully making it look better, because I know like the quality isn't that good as what I thought. Anyways, I had to like delete everything on my phone to make storage, so I'm just gonna move on to the next part. So I'm a blank state. It's cold. Oh yeah, so I want to explain the first time I visited my son at his new parents' home, which they're above, like, I'm pretty sure they're in their 50s. They're definitely like over 55, I'm pretty sure. You know, so it's cold, whatever. Even visiting, cold. When you knock on the door, they open it and they're like, hi. They don't even, they're like, there's no hug. It was as if they were waiting for me to do everything, as if I'm not like a freshly 16-year-old girl. And that I will pause on, and I have to make a separate whole video for adoption stuff. Next thing. So junior year, I've returned all this stuff. I am going to be completely honest here, because for some reason the adoptive parents kept putting this on me as if like I should feel guilty about this and feel really bad, and as if I'm trying to like hide this. And that has never been the case. I do not feel guilty about this. I do not feel like I have to hide this. I know where I was at that state. I know that it was not okay. And I know that the adults around me were not helping me the way I should. And I should never feel bad for that. There was never any indication from them. They never pushed onto me. I felt awkward. They made me feel so awkward, so cold. And I already could feel in my gut, there's so much wrong with this, so much more, but nothing around me is matching. It's confusion. I'm on autopilot. First of all, I didn't see my son for 6 months because I was sent over to that other place that didn't actually help me with grieving the adoption. So I didn't know my son. He was whatever, I'm grieving. I feel awful. My family doesn't know how to talk to this about this. No one knows how to talk about it with me. No one knows what to do. No one. Because adoption in society is not talked about the way it should be and not addressed. No one knows what to say, or no one knows what to do. And I know if you are new to this and you have no idea or whatever, before you comment your thoughts on adoption, unless you're a birth parent, I don't want to hear your thoughts about relating to me in this story. If you're an adoptee, I am open to hearing all of your thoughts and all your opinions. Whatever you feel and think matters, subject to me. But do not comment, well, I feel this way about my birth mom. I feel this way, but well, my birth mom did this. I am not your specific birth mother. I always get comments of people saying, well, my birth mother did all these terrible things, it was dangerous and all this stuff and you know, so it's like, you know what, this is all on you, as if projecting onto me their feelings towards their birth mother. That's not necessary. However, feel free always to share your feelings and your thoughts about it. But before you do, please visit like my Instagram and TikTok where I go into it a little more, because adoption fog is a thing. That's another thing for another time. And before you get into this, I am also an adoptee. And I have never shared my story about that because a lot of people like to say because I wasn't adopted straight at birth and just by one parent, they don't understand that my father was also a birth parent and an adoptee, and his mom was a birth parent who got pregnant at my age and was separated for her child, and the adoptive parents yelled at her and pushed her away, and I just found her recently. So before you even think that I do not have a good opinion about an adoptee, hold it right there, because you have not heard my full story on that, nor do you know my background and the generational trauma that is obviously surrounding it. I don't know, guys. This is so hard. There's just so much. You know, I'm gonna take a break from telling my story for a minute. I know I've been going on about it and stuff, and I know I have 1,000 more points to go. You have no idea how hard this is. I know there are people who have watched every single video. I know there's people that don't like me. I know there's people that hate me. I know I've made lots of mistakes and I've truly done wrong things. I know I haven't navigated this right always. Whether it's me talking about this or the YouTube phase where I pretended to be someone I wasn't because I wasn't allowed to talk about that I was pregnant at 15 and had to pretend it was gone or over. I am constantly trying, though. I'm constantly spending hours rewinding everything and trying to make a new step forward. I'm constantly trying to do something with my pain and something good to change something. I'm not trying to keep people who really need adopted and families together. I'm not trying to bash people. I'm not trying to do anything. I'm trying to share a real story and a real experience as it happens and as my thoughts about it change over and over and over again. And as I get older, and after each mistake that I make and fix, I always fix them. I always try to better myself. I'm 25. And look how much I've done. I've made plenty of mistakes, whether I was a child, whether I was traumatized, whether it was my fault, whether it wasn't. But I've done so much. I've done so much more for something good to come from this eventually. I understand if when I've shared parts of my story it upsets you or it doesn't always make sense because I'm still I gotta explain the whole story. I know some of you have so many questions or are so confused because there's times where I haven't shared certain stuff or I haven't told the full things about something or I've changed things about my story in order to protect myself or because I would be in denial about a certain topic, a part of my story, because we grow. All I know is that I truly believe as I navigate this and I share this raw perspective, whether I do it completely right or completely wrong, which I'll do both. And I always look back on my older videos and I'm like, girl, you were an idiot. You did that completely wrong. But in these videos where I am really myself at this time, and I know in 1 year, 2 years, I'm going to look at this video and I'm going to say, girl, you got, you know, I'll have all these pinpoints and I'll have different ways how I feel about everything. I'm not talking about like my videos where I'm just being silly and stupid and extra and dramatic or whatever for fun or for whatever. I'm talking about the real deal. These real deals. The real deal videos. If you know, you know what I'm talking about. I've always been the rawest I can, whether I am a little bit in denial about something at that time, whether I can't talk about a certain thing about the story. I've always just been me. And I've gotten hate in all types of ways. People say, she's crazy, she's this, she's that, whatever. And since the beginning, since I accidentally went viral, just like my first video, I was just being me then. And I think at the end of the day, you have to have respect for someone who is willing to do that. You can say I do it for money, you can say I do it for attention, and don't get me wrong, I do a lot of my silly stuff, my acting, my goofing, whatever, for, you know, a little bit of revenue and for attention, because I love entertaining. But the real stuff, we're talking about the real stuff. I don't enjoy doing this. But when I tell you I have to, people will give me, so they'll be like, well, you can do this, you can do this, you can do that. You have no idea. For whatever reason, I made my first video and went viral, having no idea what was going to happen to me. No plans to be a YouTuber, no plans to be here. That happened for a reason. And I believe that reason is because there is something with adoption. There are a lot of things, it goes way deeper than you can ever know, that need to be changed, that need to be talked about. I get it, it hurts, it's traumatic. Everyone has their own personal feelings. But there is real stories here that are not being discussed because we push these people away, we push this. I am a mother who loves her children. I am a mother who loves her son Nova. And I have no idea what's going on with him these days. He can feel whatever I want about me. He can grow up and say, Sierra, that was ridiculous. You did this, you did that, you did that. Oh, I know, I know he's gonna have strong opinions about all of it. I know I'm not gonna do it right. I don't want to do half the things I want to do. I don't want to have to put the people on blast that I've had to, but I've had to. For different reasons of all the sort, I've had to. Because for some reason, this is all I have to change or alter anything about my situation, to actually change and alter anything about other women like me. And there's tons, and they're slowly coming out more and more because of me. And some of them are brave enough to speak out a little more, and then more come out because of them. This is humiliating to some sense, but I know that no matter how I do it, good or bad, I know that the actions that come from this in the end are going to be for the greater good. I know that I have to do this, and it's not that I have to, it's that I have to. It's bigger than me and Nova. It's bigger than whatever happened to me with my parents. It's bigger than whatever happened with the illegal adoption. It's bigger than how wonderful or terrible they parent him. It's bigger than my mistakes. I know a lot of us want to be in denial, but the world is not in a good state. Technically, by 2030, the world's supposed to not even be safe to live on environmentally. I don't remember the exact quote on it because I'm like worked up. We're literally approaching doomsday in so many ways. And I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist or make everyone worried. You should be happy. You shouldn't be scared. But I'm going to spend how many years left we have on this earth, or me, or whatever, trying to fix the one problem, which is me. and the closure and the thought of Nova. For other people like me, I suppose. And I'll die trying. And I'll keep trying. I'm just trying. I don't want to have to actually meet myself for the first time. Because quite frankly, I never really met him. I was never there, and the periods were so short, and I wanted to die. Sure, I've got to see him a few times, but I never really met them because I was not there. It's my firstborn child.